I'd like to welcome Mr. Don Dolby, who is the convener of Buxton Spoken Words, back to the stage for the second half.
Thank you, Caroline. We have second half is all original poetry. I think it's all poetry, maybe short story mixed in with it somewhere along the line. But nine of our poets, if I've got the list right, and the list will be in the order that is on the back of the programme that's on the table. So we would like to welcome up to the stage Anne Shimwell.
Start with the age before beauty. For those of you who think I'm having a bit of trouble with my glasses, you're right. I broke my ordinary pair, and this is a spare pair. They don't fit very well. But I'm doing my best. The one good thing about my poems is that they're all short. So although we've got 5 minutes each, I can probably get half a dozen in. This one's called Old Age. Don't look at my bat-wing arms or the blemishes on my skin. Don't look at my thinning hair or the state my figure's in. Don't look at my wrinkled hands, the signs of time and tide. Don't look at the outward picture. I'm alive and young inside. I've got a couple here which are really about family. My son John, the third in my four sons, went to New Zealand in 2004. And naturally, it was very sad for those of us left behind. And I wrote this in the autumn, just after he'd gone. The leaves are orange, russet, flame, burning red and glowing gold. It's autumn here as my dear son flies into spring. Soon we'll have winter, wind and rain, foggy mornings, ice and cold, as summer will be showing him a flowering. When crocuses are blooming here and spring tips every daffodil, the autumn leaves around his house are withering. When summer sun and warmth are here, he'll face a sudden winter chill. And so a year will pass for me, remembering. And this is a bit sad, this one. When my mother died, a few months later, I had a dream. Dreaming, I walked with you on a white pavement, under a warm sun. The air was clear and golden as we talked. Suddenly, I was weeping. You know what's going to happen, don't you? I said. But you didn't reply. In a minute, I'm going to wake up and you'll be gone. Weeping, I woke, and you were gone, and my pillow wet with tears. Cheer you up a bit now. If I were a princess unable to sleep because of a single pea, would you lift up my mattress, retrieve it and set me free? If I let down my long dark hair from a window in a high tower, would you climb the castle walls to stay with me an hour? If I were transformed into a deer, would you aim at me to miss? And if I slept 100 years, would you wake me with a kiss? In stories of old, a brave young man would challenge the stars above. But here and now, in reality, what would you do for love? Thank you.
Trying to grab me wine.
Oh yeah. Get a drink with no.
Next up is Andy Lynn.
Thank you. I always wondered, life was very difficult for people in COVID, and I always thought, how do people find the time to fall in love? Love in the time of COVID. Feeling quite melancholy, pushing my empty supermarket trolley, I see you in the herbs and spices aisle. Is that a grimace or a smile? Hard to tell what each little expression meant, mouth cordoned off like police tape round an accident. Pausing as you contemplate a jar of chipotle paste, I realise there is no time to waste. How to greet, where to meet, socially distanced in the first instant. Later, listening to the Beatles, I want to hold your hand. Hope you understand that I can't. I politely ask, can you take off your mask? And in such a strange, sanitised time like this, we pretend to kiss. This one was inspired by a walk around Burbage Cemetery. Not that I do it very often, but it's called In Loving Memory. It's not a council estate, a patrician's stately home, not a middle-brow cul-de-sac, an ageing terrace row. Yet they all lie here, underneath Celtic crosses, rose carvings, weeping angels, sacred hearts. These monoliths with cambered sides, carved rope edges, serpentine and scotia of volu mouldings, accessorised with the flora of remembrance, sprays of colour deodorising the decay. The esteemed, the exalted, the honoured, the betrayed, the despised, the unloved. They all lie here. But brush away the moss on these weathered testaments. Look carefully and compare. Some shouted, ordered, dominated. Others accepted, surrendered, capitulated. Yet there's this little sense of hegemony here. Lie down in the snowdrops circling these stones. Listen carefully. Silence. Only silence. I'm not a great fan of the honours system, especially when Boris Johnson was in charge of it. This is my response, and it's called And the Winner Is. It starts with paper stars at school. For good work, effort, staying on your stool, bronze, silver, gold, some got all three, but none for the kid with ADHD. Popular with teacher, become head girl, head boy, but don't expect others to share your joy as you strut around like a smug city gent while some dream of you buried in cement. Rich through sport, movies or TV, here's another award you can get for free. Enjoy your knighthood, proud to be a Dane, surrounded by sycophants in your kaleidoscope of fame. Here's a place in the House of Lords, at an inflated price only the rich afford. Join the cavalcade of Johnson's cronies, sell bogus PPE like Baroness Moni. Corrupt, fraudulent, a Russian oligarch, they'll ensure your secrets are hidden in the dark. Incompetent MP, feckless civil servant, honours wash away failure like a strong detergent. Child carer, struggling mother, no MBE. They'll reduce your benefits so you remain on your knees. My own trophy sits shinily on the shelf. I got it off eBay and awarded it to myself. Just two more. Let's go back in time, about the 1960s. A 14-year-old boy is not very happy about going to to Bridlington with his parents. This is called Summer Special. In the back seat of the Anglia, setting off the brig, Summer Special Beano keeping my face hid. Dad's enthusiastic, but I try to hide my shame. My mates and the parents are jetting off to Spain, where lovely Latina girls are paraded in bikinis, blowing kisses, enticing boys, sipping dry martinis. Sun smiling warmly, the sea a hot caress, a state of ecstasy, willing to undress. And here, sullen sister Jenny, sitting next to me, only 2 years older, but old enough to catch VD, from a grimy local lad, hiring out deck chairs, even worse at Gibbles than in waltzers at the fair. And I'll be stuck with Mum and Dad, staring at the rain, soggy fish and chips inciting stomach pain. The arguments in the kitchen in our self-catering flats, Mum trying to cook a meal amidst all the seaside tat. How the well do I know what you want for tea? This sort of holiday's no holiday for me. Dad at the club for a few cheap drinks, giving Mum space and too much time to think about the tattooed ex-teddy boy giving change at the arcade. An offer of kiss me quick, a contract's not yet made. Mum could walk out now, coins in her hand, meet down by the spa, a fumble in the sand. Return slightly flustered, lipstick smeared across her face. Silence me with Mr. Whippy hiding her disgrace. A week of sunny spells and occasional scattered showers. Silence in the bedroom. Suddenly a sunburst of flowers. What parents do to keep family life alive. Far better to end it all on the A165. This might resonate with quite a few of the writers in our group. It's, again, set the seaside, it's just called My Round. Inside this bar thinking, I'll never write poetry of note. I acknowledge failure and sink my 22nd Bacardi. Outside, the wind seizes the coast. The old pier disappears. And a nice family man is needlessly wasted by a beach hut. Inside, music cuffs the drinkers. The woman I want is dancing with a man in white socks. Only a taxi can save me now.
Thank you, Andy. And next, a welcome to the stage, Margaret Pacer.
Most of my poems start their life on my morning walk with the dog, and possibly for that reason, they're quite often seasonal or inspired by this season. So on this beautiful evening, I'm starting in December, but just like Buxton, I promise that we will get to summer. Survival. His words fall like stone into a deep pool of misery. Circles of impact wrinkling the surface of humanity. We lost a child, Abdul's father said, but we survived. What meaning does survival hold for him, this man who pitched his family against the cruel sea, seeking refuge in our deemed hospitable land? His tree shedding its autumn leaves to stand starkly against the winter elements. Essence of spring hunched within, hope that summer may yet come again. And what of her? What is her story? I wonder as I scuttle past, eyes averted, muttering no cash to her waving magazine. Did she come by boat? Flee captivity? exit the car, parked in an out-of-view street. Christmas is coming. The nativity cast assembles, making their lifestyle choices. Which doorway? Maybe a hostel, bag of chips or pound saver bottle, tea or coffee from the kindly lady. A Bethlehem stable in the Roman census, Westminster Hotel in the COVID clean-up, to Nazareth by night for God's only Son, to Gaza south for the mother and babe. Slaughter upon slaughter, innocent after innocent. Herods spend their force as wise men depart. Still, the Christ child will survive, born in us today. Most of my poems are short, and this one started very short. I think if I read it today, I will resist the temptation to write any more. So, innocence. Innocence. The word whispers in the breeze, lies silky on the tongue, evokes simple pleasures, slips into casual reference. Days of innocence, the innocence of youth. What foolishness is this? Time hardened, we declare. Innocence soon gone in this weary world, its place invaded by knowledge born of experience. Yet its legacy remains as trust performs its dance of light amidst the shadows of disillusion. By this, we live and love. When I was a child, I thought like a child. Now I am old, I understand. Innocence not tarnished, but enriched by the terrible beauty of this world. And so we trust and journey on. My grandson Robin, who has just celebrated his 8th birthday. So he's a summer boy and he's always sunny. This is a tale of a legendary creature. You may well have met him, so I will describe him. A cautious cat, fearless fighter, dandy dresser, egghead extraordinaire, Vegisaurus, roaming the dark peak. By what name do we know him? Robin Rob, Bobbin Bob, Sir Haribo of Scarborough. It's said he demolished the Knickerbocker Glory the size of his head. Lord Bob of Buxton, diligent in duty, especially when inflatables come to town. No less attention to museums and caverns, for this is the stuff of legend and adventure. And where will you venture, Robin, sweet boy? Why? Anywhere that your dreams can fly. And so I'd just like to finish with paying tribute to my faithful companions on these morning walks with my poem For the Love of Dogs. They say it's unconditional, the love we get from dogs. Conditioned unconditionality, food, shelter, warmth, comfort, a dog's hierarchy of need. Back in the day, they chose us. Edge of the clearing, nearer the fire, outside the hut, inch by inch, edging into human life. Companion, workmate, defender, little by little, penetrating the human heart. And so we love them as they insist on their place in the rhythm and material of our lives. And so we grieve them, these faithful four-legged friends. Susie, Jed, Alfie, Fred, devotion, protector, companion, affection. Be this love? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. I thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you very much. Next we have Alan Budge.
Hello. You all enjoyed Underbuilt Wood?
Yes.
I didn't know the play when I got roped in to take part. I knew of some of Dylan Thomas's poetry, not a vast amount. The other thing I knew about Dylan Thomas was that he was famously a bit of a drinker. And it set me thinking about the relationship between creativity and alcohol. This is called The Thirsty Muse. Now, an alcoholic's someone who you've never really liked, who drinks as much as you. As Dylan Thomas almost said, who knew a thing or two about that bottle demon alcohol. As did many more, Fitzgerald, Faulkner, Waugh, booze hounds to the core. I finished it, said Simon Gray, gazing rapt at his new play. Took some bottles, sure, but me and Scotch, we made it there. There is mystery here. There is a place where artists go, away from all of this, to come back with a cure for all our heartless ills. Never taken, but what's new? Or a way at least of saying things we need to say and can't. On these unbounded shores, our tide rules don't apply, or so it seems. Does alcohol push wide the doors to whimsy, insight, light? Or do our poets like a drink? Self-regarding, self-absolved by Fernhill, Gatsby, Flight. And hope creation pays the bills, picks up the tab of desperate ruined lives, the lost children, the failed wives of these great drunken men. And there are also sober poets and drunken louts who have no novel thoughts. And what of those who love to play the game, who have it all, the temperament, the size, that sense of being other, blessed with secret knowledge from within, who may have talent, sure, who seek elusive genius in the bottom of a glass when nothing comes to pass. So, is the booze mere fluid to oil the dream machine, to let our poets think those things unthinkable, to catch the beauty all around as they return from the brink? Or is it just the other way, for Thomas and the rest, who lost themselves at last? Does creation license drink? I'll leave you with that thought. Continuing the slightly debauched theme, this is a poem called The Wild Side. It's about Lou Reed. I met Lou Reed once, shook his hand. He was as sweet as pie, which only goes to show, I guess, the rumours sometimes lie. He was clean and sober, happy, high. He'd just come off the stage. I was there through friends of friends, desperately unfazed. I'd seen him 15 years before, at Charlton back in '74. Peroxide blonde and wafer thin, a ghost presiding as the skin was ripped from rock and roll. He'd already done it all, a punk before the punks could crawl. Accomplice to the life of crime the drugs part of the deal required, that vast, pernicious toll. I hate all of those West Coast bands, he'd said in '68, as the Velvets cut a swathe between the sinners and the saints. He told those stories as they came, the James, the femme fatale, between the Skidrow escapades waiting for his man. The hippies came, the hippies went. He waved them all goodbye. Smiled a smile as old as time, now would I ever lie? And here he was surviving, more than that, at peace. His heirs still multiplying, granted sweet release. So yeah, there are those lodestones, these markers on the souls of boys and girls whose lives were saved by rock and roll. Quick plug, all being I'll be reading the same poem on this very stage tomorrow night with the 3 fantastic musicians who are going to do a wonderful version of Perfect Day for us, and lots of other 6 and 7 rock and roll classics. So if anybody's moved to pick up a leaflet, please feel free. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alan. And yeah, if you do go tomorrow night, you won't regret it. Next up is Alison Morton.
Oddly, I find I'm more nervous about performing my own words than John Thomas's. Then I think he was a much better writer than me. I've got 3 poems for you. They're not particularly happy, I guess, and they have a kind of a common theme. But when I was looking for which ones to read, I realised that all 3 of these were inspired by photographs in the newspaper. They span almost 7 years, and they are 3 particular articles accompanied by photographs. So the first one is called Maria. Green, then white, then orange. Green, then white, then orange. Someone, sometime, painted these stairs. Green, then white, then orange. Step by step, tread, riser, tread, riser. Banister rail by banister rail. I guess they started at the top, painted down, step by step, tread, riser, maybe 2 someones, maybe young and excited, their first home, their first flight of stairs to be theirs in their new home together. Perhaps they couldn't agree on a colour, so chose them all, laughing at their choice, eyes wide at the vibrancy of green, white, orange, happy at the cheerfulness of the finished job, waiting for the paint to dry, then playing games, stepping only on green ones, stretching orange to orange, white to green, running up the stairs at night, coming down in the morning to share breakfast. Maybe there were children, placing toys carefully on green steps or orange or white, toddlers learning to crawl laboriously to the top, step by coloured step. Perhaps a tumble or 2, learning the names of the colours as they climbed the green, white and orange stairs. Teenagers thundering down or dashing up, shouting as they went by, slamming the door on the green, white and orange staircase. Parents growing older, climbing more slowly, repainting the stairs from time to time, too attached to their multicoloured stairs to change the colours, remembering the fun of the first painting, green, then white, then orange. Perhaps they had grandchildren, taught them the colours as they clambered up and backed carefully down. Was there a dog or a cat sitting patiently waiting from a green step or a white one or an orange? How many rooms did these stairs lead to? How many people climbed up them, came down? Maria came to Dominica in September 2017. Blew away the house, the rooms, the doors and the memories. Only the stairs still stood, leading nowhere. Green, white and orange stairs, standing alone, proud and bright. No rooms above them or below, standing among the rubble of the house they used to live in. Storm Maria, September 2017, Dominica. So move forward. I can't remember exactly. Oh yes, I can. Move forward to 2023. Have you ever travelled on the road to Marrakesh? 10 seconds. said the man interviewed by the reporter. 10 seconds and everything was gone. It felt like doomsday. 300,000 people displaced, over 2,500 people dead, whole villages obliterated, cut off by landslides, as though the earth just swallowed them up. People stumbling among the rubble, digging with their hands, searching for their loved ones, their pets, any of their belongings they could find, to help them feel that something, anything, is still the same. But nothing is the same. They have a new normal now, a new life full of hunger, thirst, sand and dirt, of living in tents donated by people far away, of gathering around the rescue workers, hoping against hope for good news, news of loved ones found alive, news of injured ones surviving, news of water, food, shelter, arriving on trucks and in helicopters. How different today from yesterday, when their ancient and isolated village nestled safely in the mountains, with its shops, bars, schools and community solid and safe. Charities launch appeals in countries which sit in the middle of large tectonic plates, safe from the worst that earthquakes can do. Struggling to imagine how those Moroccan people are feeling, watching images on TV like some kind of disaster movie as they eat their meals, drink their mugs of tea, glasses of beer or wine. And a small girl in a brown, green and white dress stands in front of a pile of rubble which used to be a shop. Her hands cup her face in shocked disbelief at what has happened to her beautiful mountain home. Someone that morning arranged her beautiful glossy black hair, helped her to put on her pretty dress. The newspaper article simply reads, "A shocked child surveys the damage." I want to know so much more. Are her parents still alive? Is anyone looking after her? Does she have somewhere to shelter? Does she have water? Food? I'll never know. All I can do is write words about her village, about the earthquake that hit Morocco on Friday, September 9th, 2023. I can donate some money to a charity. I can hope that people will recover and rebuild their lives and their village. 3 days later, on September the 12th, the article is on page 10, no longer front page news. But for the people left alive in the mountains, time will always now be marked as before the quake and after the quake, and their lives will never be the same. And this one only a few months later, Gaza, January 2024. Before I read this, I do want to say this is a very divisive topic politically. I'm offering no opinion. My only opinion is that it's always wrong to harm children. A small boy in a green onesie, blue cuffs, blue collar, blue socks with red and white stripes. His feet in sandals scuff the stony ground. His arms are straight down by his sides. His eyes staring and shocked. Confusion written on his small face as buildings lie in ruins. Rubble strews the ground and destruction fills streets where he played until yesterday. Nothing left of the home in which he lived until yesterday. 3 women walk beside him, bundles of blankets in their arms and on their heads, sandals on their feet. His big sister, his mother, his auntie or his grandmother. No beds to put their blankets on, no chairs to rest their bundles and sit for a while.
fear and disbelief in their eyes, peering around the corners, afraid of what they'll see, looking for somewhere safe to rest, somewhere safe to sleep, clean water to drink, maybe some food, some help. This is an ancient dispute, nothing to do with them. From this distance, far away in this country, it's hard to know who's right, who's wrong. I only know the wrongness of harming innocent children, for whatever reason. It seems to me that always the greatest might wreaks the greatest wrong. And the men in those far-off places, deciding when and where the bombs shall fall, do not see the face of the small boy in the green onesie. Or maybe they do not care, and that's the scariest thing of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Very moving. Next we have Carl. Give me a second before you start, Carl. I think my later. Thank you. Carl Larden.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just got two pieces. This one's called Dyscalculia. Some of you might know this already, but according to the British Dyslexia Association, dyscalculia is a specific and persistent difficulty in understanding numbers, which can lead to a diverse range of difficulties with mathematics. I don't have this condition, but by using it as a title, I don't want to trivialise the disorder. I do think, however, that is an apt title for the following description of an ever increasingly difficult world in which we try to navigate our way through. Dyscalculia. 8 billion. Cuss, said the cleric. It seems only a spitball in time since I tried to absorb 7 billion into my already full head. How many zeros in that surely immeasurable sum? I could no longer rely on my fingers nor count on an abacus for the following facts. To count to 1 million, one number, 1 second at a time, would take someone 11 days, 13 hours, 46 minutes and 40 seconds. To count to 1 billion, that is 1,000 million, without eating, sleeping or doing anything apart from counting, would take a person 32 years. Therefore, 8 billion would take 256 years to reckon. How can I compute such vast sums, when in my fractured dreams I toss and turn with totting up £4.78 1.5 times and giving change from a £10 note, with my back to the till while another customer's order is ready, and a barely audible man grows impatient as I fail not only to take his request but cannot grasp his diction, and his words fall weightlessly to the floor, and I spill the pennies in an unmusical cascade enough to topple a glass mountain. 7 billion was what seemed like only yesterday, but the literal yesterday was a day in which I never spoke to any of them, not a single one. Not even to breathe the breathtaking, earth-shattering fact that should I wish to calculate 1 trillion, a million, it would require 31,688 years, of which I don't even have a fraction. Thank you. In a previous job, I used to cycle to work, and this is some of the nonsense that used to fill my head. I call it whimsically, as you bike it. At the beginning of the week, I cycled to work with Ted Hughes. We passed a crushed sparrow, its passerine claws like arthritic fingers, having lost their grip on this wheel of life. Ted nodded at the brooding sky as we pedalled harder uphill towards the brow, past grey-walled fields and half a crow. I thought it touching how Armitage and Hughes echoed nature through art, how they created solidity in their shared assonance, in the way they both pronounced the words poem and stone. Next day, I skirted round a dead squirrel. its arms and legs spread star face down on the tarmac, as if its parachute had failed to open. I suspected it was Roger McGough, who'd forced him from his bow. Not a flying squirrel, I surmised, and reading my thoughts, McGough replied, "No, very much flown." Midweek, I pumped my tyres and for further balance gave Emily Dickinson a backing. The last hill before work is the steepest climb, but even with Emily's weight upon my saddle, her sense of hope propelled me on. The prospective calls of curlews and the wheeling flight of the kite lightened my loads. At the top, a clutch of feathers were my rewards. The following lunchtime, I took a cheese and pickle sandwich in the sun-dappled grounds of a Norman church. Inside the cool chamber, I felt the cold relief of a Saxon font and was momentarily startled by an echoed cough and scurried scratchings. In a sheltered pew, a Macintosh man mused and muttered something about mice eking out a contrary living in a graveyard. I assumed, due to his aloofness, it was larking, but as I left him to his thoughts, I noticed the Cortina in the car park, and accepting my mistake, I concluded it must have been bitumen. On Friday, on my way home, I freewheeled down the vale, around the bend, and pulled in at the Lamb Inn, where Brendan Behan was holding court at the bar. His stories meandered from bawdy to bucolic. I shook him by the hand and bade him good day. I just had the one pint and apologised I couldn't stay. At the weekend, I visited the Round and wondered what Shakespeare would have made of cycling, when from centre stage the Marshal spoke, as if directly unto me. Richard II, Act 1, Scene 3. My lord, no leave take I, for I will ride as far as land will let me by your side.
Thank you, Carl. And next up is Sarah Waybold.
I'm going to read two poems. This first one is called 13. I carry your heartbeats, these invisible sirens on the pulp of my fingertips, where they drum a new rhythm. Bold, tribal and unfamiliar, your 13 years of growing up, me reaching down, now arrested as your smallness is replaced by shoes larger than my own. I wasn't ready for the vacant seat around the table, the closed door, goodnight routines to become obsolete. The part where I'm left guessing who or where you are in the composition of this unknown song, waiting for an invitation to the cadence of where you now belong. We're passing in the same corridor, bleeding under the same moon, and it was only yesterday I knew you entirely. Each skin crease, every note your heart beats, faster but always together, and over time, just as it should be. Your tempo altered, and at the junction where you took another path, I stumbled and faltered, yearning to follow, but required to let you go. I now listen to the beat of your young heart as it claims its place in this work of art, and I want to steal it, rush it to A&E with bright flashing neon lights, give it oxygen, plug in the ECG, whip the curtain round, nurse it in bandages and make it mine again. But I relinquish this beating heart, beating for something else. Watch it stop, 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 and restart. Let it beat out of time with mine. And listen with awe to the rhythm and bass line of a new anthem. Translate the lyrics to ones I understand. Not afraid to walk with giants in the promised land. Listen to the intent and wonder in your voice in the moments you let me in. opera on the subject of love and power. This is called Love's Monologue. Love spoke, and from her throne 1,000 words spilt down to earth. She said, I am your beginning, from conception to birth, the pulse through fragile veins. Before oxygen, I was within you, uncontained, and sculpting in your mother's womb a love forever tame. Indulge in my caress, for in time I will possess the very marrow of you, entice another to your heart, forsaking all else you will depart from reason, favour my voice over wisdom. I anchor time and steady space, lay seeds of trust for you to nurture and to cultivate. I feed the poor, defend the weak, turn tables, fight injustice, weep. I set my seal upon their hearts, no fire or flood can quench or tear apart what love has claimed, as strong as death, as fierce as flame. I knit and purge your gaping wounds, where unforgiveness bleeds and burns, and whisper words of hope when you are drowning in their lies. I carve the place you crouch when the walls are caving in, and pave the path ahead when you need something greater to believe in. Before time I wrote the sun, cloaked the night, scattered stars with shards of broken light. I am the shifting mist in early dawn, the fire within your breast when eager sword is drawn. I come disguised as lust on urgent lips, a vulgar grind against retreating hips, uninvited attention justified by hierarchy and establishment, control, desire, force, discontent. Through me, men hate, oppress and conquer, men and women procreate. Revenge is birthed, where love so sweet emerges ravaged, corrupt, cursed. I steer the blind along in adoration, capture, bind hearts, lead into temptation. I am true, and yet delusion. I am faithful, but an illusion. Some would die for me. Imagine love so great. Would any other virtue bring humankind to such a tragic fate? I watched a boy, belittled, broken, limp along a dusty jungle street, and with compassion met him, brought him home, delivered healing to his buckled feet. And now this man, transformed, lives life adopted, loved, complete. This is my claim, that when you speak of fame and fortune in this world and that above, of courage, goodness, wit and intellect, I say all are worthy, but none compare to love.
Thank you, Sarah. I should say that last year we were invited to collaborate with English National Opera to write a few, to write some poems, and they were anxious to commission one of us. And I'd like to say that Sarah won that commission from English National Opera. I think with that poem, or that poem was written in consequence of that, and I think it was well worth the success that we had with it.
To actually look round at you all because I wasn't part of the Under Milkwood. However, my first two poems are connected to Wales, to my love of Wales, and to my love of a particular concept in the Welsh language. But I'll begin with welcome. I'll try not to do a Welsh accent. Stop me if I do, it's embarrassing. Welcome to Wales. This is how I feel when I just go over that border. First red dragon as we cross, Croeso Gimri welcomes me. Mountains, castles standing guard, and never far away, the sea. Incomers with Breton words, settled in the valleys, language embedded in soil and air. Lyrical it is, and nearly lost, survived against all odds, as did the nation, exploited for its silver, copper, coal, whilst those who sweated underground, they were the gold, were crushed as was the ore. Held up they did, like weary pit props, sang on in chapels and survived. And deep within their bones, their Celtic past, Rhiannon, Welsh goddess of rebirth, they trust, like me, that she will lift them from the shores of Anglesey, carry them on white horses into their sunset in the west. Another welcome waiting. Thank you. I came across this concept a few years ago. The word is hiraeth. I've checked how you pronounce it. Hiraeth. Hiraeth. We don't have an equivalent in English. But if you kind of Google it, look on the internet, this was a particular definition that I came across, and it felt just right. A spiritual longing for a home that maybe never was. Nostalgia for ancient places to which we cannot return. It is the echo of lost places of our soul's past and our grief for them. It's in the wind and the rocks and the waves. It's nowhere and everywhere. So this is my poem entitled Hiraeth. They did not live in straight lines then. They lived in cycles. They did not live in timelines then. No hourly calendars to punctuate the days. The morning light until the dark again. The seasons turned dependably, reliably. Tribal lives in tune with nature's rhythmic round. They did not live in straight lines then. They lived in circles. The Earth's own revolution, not seen by them from outer space, but felt by them, I think, or like to think. The moon, her orbit of the Earth, was visible. The simple fact of life. Not many facts then either to remember or forget. More feelings though, and well-honed senses. More smelling, touching, just to stay alive. They did not pray in straight lines then. They prayed in circles. Communal gatherings honouring the land. Not straight-backed wooden pews. No hierarchy. No opposites. They felt equality with rocks and trees. The spirit in all things. I grieve a time imagined that would suit me more. Half remembered down ancestral lines. My sentimental yearning leads me back to Hiraeth. Nostalgic longing for belonging. A grief, a loss, a sense of circles we may never find again. Thank you. last one is a totally different energy. Is there anybody here who lives in Buxton? Good. This is a true story. This is my dear friend Rob, who'd been online dating and found this gorgeous bloke from down south and wanted me to meet him. So we arranged to meet at the Cafe Nero, you know where it is, Spring Gardens, and that I would be just enamoured with this new lover. This is actually what happened. My friend beamed with excitement that I should meet his online boyfriend up from the south. I forgave him for that. I joined them in Cafe Nero. My friend stood up to greet me. I thought the boyfriend would. He didn't. Instead, he stirred his coffee, an empty gaze reflecting back himself. He's bound to be nervous, I thought. He wasn't. I can't do a southern accent, but I'll do it. I thought it was a spa, he snapped. We chorused, yeah, it is. It's not like Bath. It's Buxton. His disappointment filtered down. And why is this called Spring Gardens? There isn't one that I can see. He had a point. My friend fussed with his serviettes. I stirred my feathered, untouched heart with intent. My friend had so hoped I'd be impressed. I wasn't. I'm really pleased to say they're no longer together.
Thank you, Maggie. I know we're a bit over time, Caroline. Are you okay for a couple more?
I'm still on my feet. So.
Fair enough. So are we. I'd just like to say thank you to all our poets. As they do, we meet each month. We meet over there and we sit around and we enjoy each other's poetry and writings. And I never fail to be amazed at the variety, the talent, the skill and the emotion and that's generated by our poets' words. And that's been demonstrated again tonight. So thank you everybody that's come, that's performed. Two poems for me just to finish with. Next weekend is the Buxton Festival Festival down in Dorset. And if you've never been to it, it's a great little festival. I used to be able to work in the workers' beer tent there for a few years and also got up to the open mic tent at the same time. So it's a great little festival if you're ever down in Dorset at this time of the year. The reason I thought I'd do this is because earlier on Caroline said that I was the convener of Buxton Spoken Words. And I'm glad you chose that word, convener, because a lot of my history is as a trade union activist. I was never a trade union convener, I was in the printing industry, so I was a father of a chapel. But nevertheless, the terms are the same. So hopefully, without getting too political, hopefully the trade unions will have a bit more of a voice over the next few years as well. So this one's about Buxton martyrs, called Martyr's Struggle. 6 men true stood here one day, a union strong their aim to build, protect themselves and all their guild. 6 men true were led away, hopes and dreams lay unfulfilled. Frightened bosses the fear instilled, sent the men to a distant shore, thought the union was no more. But many since have known the score, that the union strong has the power still to frighten the boss and always will. For each other is all we need to fight the might of corporate greed, and honour men who showed us how, who forsook their hoe and plough, who paid the price for comrades now. We owe it to those gallant men, a tribute great that we can pay. The Union will not go away. My last poem, I don't know whether you've had a chance to have a look, but in the middle of the gallery there is the John Bull exhibition, which has got some very emotional pieces of artwork concerned with the slave trade that we're all well about. This is not directly about that, but I wrote this poem a couple of months ago after a visit to France and the Loire Valley, and we like to visit the chateaus and that when we go there, but I always have such mixed feelings about these places, as I do when I visit stately homes in England as well. And the exhibition is obviously about the slave trade and so on. This is not directly related to that, but I thought there is some synonymy. So I'd like to finish with this one. It's called To Monuments to Privilege and Suffering. Chatsworth and Chambord, Longleat and Chemonceau, stately homes of England, chateaux of the Loire, people come to see the beauty of the buildings and the art. I see them with a sadness, though, that pierces through my heart. Each stone on magnificent stone, each brick on perfect brick, depicts a lowly labourer, bent double, those who did the work, or starve if they did shirk. Each thread of perfect tapestry, each stitch of silken thread, I see the crouching figures there, and how their fingers bled. Verdant, beautiful gardens, each plant a tale to tell, of sweat and pain and hardship, with back-breaking toil they fell. There can be no rich and privileged life without untold suffering and strife. So spare them a thought when next you marvel at the wondrous trappings of huge wealth. No history on the walls for them, no records that they were even there, no long and lustrous family tree. So when I see those monuments to privilege, that's what they mean to me. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed the evening. I think by the response it seems you have. We certainly have. And thank you once again to all our poets. And thank you to Caroline as well. Once again, she's working 24 hours a day during the Fringe. 25. 25 hours a day during the Fringe. And it's only just started. So you've got a couple of weeks to go. But thank you, Caroline.
I'd like to say thank you to Don, who organises us, does all the emailing, all the sorting out, sends stuff out and keeps us in order. Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Just not to keep you much longer, but my thank you as well. We've done this here for the last, I don't know how many Fringes, and it has always been one of my favourite nights because it is just so full of surprises and just wonderful. I never ever get to the Monday spoken words night because I just seem to have too many other things to do at the moment. But one of these days, I'll come and be part of the group, I promise. I would love to be. You're a fantastic group. And as Donna said, what an incredible range of subject matter and so on. And, the rendition of Under Milk Wood was just fabulous. Because I have a little captive audience of interested people, just going back to the John Bull exhibition, if you haven't had a chance to look round it, please do come. It's actually in situ until the end of August. It was booked into the museum for these months, and had been booked in for a long time, but obviously with the museum being closed, Jeff Perks, the artist, got in touch with us, and I was really, really pleased that we could find space for it. And I've already been overwhelmed by the response to it, and the lovely thing is that people have been saying how wonderful to see some radical artwork. It's that radical that the lino cuts, not the sculptures, but the lino cuts were first exhibited in 1979. That's how radical it is. And that is how very moving it is to think that, for those of you who've had a chance to look around, that it is still so, sadly, unbelievably relevant today. But yeah, it is that old. And we all know what happened to the election. Sorry, I'm showing my political colours. We know what happened in 1979. It was the first election I ever voted in. Not guilty. The good news, although it's still a little bit like that, is that Michael Rosen, the writer of the poem, is hoping to get up here to visit the exhibition and to perhaps read a few poems. It won't be any, yeah, I know, ooh, I'm a fangirl. I've been for a very long time. Great man. And if he can get here, because he's based in London, he will do. But it'll be in August, so please, keep an eye out for that. Obviously, I will certainly, when I've got the date, I will certainly let Don know, because he can spread the word around spoken words group, because I'm sure you'd be interested if you can come. And I know a lot of other people will be as well. We may, if he comes, I haven't quite worked out how we're going to do it during the day when we're also open. We're just open to the public, and we can't have kind of all these seats and so on out. But I think a lot of people will want to come and just, and me too, and exactly. He and Jeff Perks, the artist, were at college together, so they go back a long way, and they've done a lot of work together. So please look out for that. If you keep an eye on our Facebook page, if you're on social media, on Facebook, on the website, around the gallery, obviously I'll be doing posters for it. Sign up for our newsletter, our email newsletter. I don't send them out very often, but put your name on our mailing list and you'll get to know about it. And just the other thing to say, Alan Fudge he's one of those, we have a number of self-deprecating people around the place. One of them was one of our artists upstairs who won't even describe himself as an artist, Chris Ray. Brilliant painter. Anyway, Alan was waving this flyer at you tomorrow, Rough and Rowdy Days Live. It is a fantastic show. You don't even have to be old enough to remember the music of the 60s and 70s to find it a wonderful show. But if you are old enough to remember, oh my goodness, you'll just be in nostalgia heaven, you really will. Alan's collection of poetry with the Rough and Rowdy Days, Odes to Rock and Roll, it's absolutely excellent, it really is. And this time we have, it has been performed before, we've got 3 wonderful local musicians, Will Hawthorne on guitar, Emma O'Brien, who sings beautifully. Don't think she's playing guitar in it, she's just singing. Will also sings. And the addition this time is Michael Clement, who I think he's on keyboard actually. He's not playing the actual piano for various reasons to do with keys changing and transposing and so on. But they're brilliant.
That's my pay grade, that's right.
Is it? Oh, okay. I've been told. Anyway, I've been informed. So it's selling very, very quickly. If you want to come, I recommend you book, because we may not be able to let you in on the door. Anyway, that's that. But thank you again. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Lovely to see such enthusiasm for poetry, creative writing, the spoken word. Wasn't it wonderful?